Hey everyone, welcome to the first Wicked Wednesday True Crime Wind Down. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that joins, likes, gifts, shares, reposts, comments won't be acknowledged during the reading, so I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you all so much for your support of this live and the way that you support this stream so that I can keep making live content that you love. This is a true crime breakdown based on court documents, police statements, and reporting. This case involves allegations, and everyone mentioned is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. This story is disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. To comply with TikTok community guidelines, some of the more explicit details will be embellished, diminished, or camouflaged with other phrases or terms. Please bear with me. I have to make some of them up and get a little creative. Let's start at the beginning. Brendan Banfield, 39, lived with his wife, Christine Banfield, age 37, and their young daughter in Herndon, Virginia, an affluent suburb of Washington, D.C. They married in 2010 before welcoming their long-anticipated only child in 2018. Brendan was a federal agent in the Criminal Investigations Unit of the IRS, educated, financially stable, and working in service of the USA. Christine was a devoted pediatric intensive care unit nurse at Inova Fairfax Women's Hospital in Falls Church, Virginia. Christine was described by friends as a warm, bubbly person, a devoted mother, deeply involved in her daughter's life. Living with them was 22-year-old Juliana Perez Magalhães, their Brazilian au pair, who had helped care for their young child since late 2021. From the outside, the family looked normal, quiet, unremarkable. On the Thursday morning of February 24th, 2023, Juliana was busy getting the little girl ready for a planned trip to the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Everyone in the family was aware of that plan, and Christine had reserved the tickets a couple days in advance as the D.C. metro area was expecting unusually warm, sunny weather for February. Brendan left for work at the IRS around 7 a.m., which would have him arriving at the office around 7:45. Juliana left in a separate car with the Banfield's daughter to head to the zoo at the same time, 7 a.m. Shortly after leaving, Juliana realized she had forgotten the lunches that she packed for the two of them on the kitchen counter, so she turned around and headed back home. As she turned into the driveway to the home, she noticed a vehicle parked all the way up near the garage, close to the house, which she didn't recognize. More concerningly, she saw a man that she didn't know walking into the house, not delivering a package or knocking, but opening the door himself and walking through it. Juliana first calls Christine, who was, last as she knew, sleeping in bed still. The call went direct to voicemail. Then Juliana naturally called Brendan and explained the scene in front of her. Fortunately, Brendan did not drive directly to the office that day. He'd instead gone to a McDonald's for breakfast and was still relatively close to the house, so he immediately headed back home because he wasn't expecting anyone to be there with Christine either. According to Juliana, she left the little one securely in the car and was pacing outside while anxiously awaiting Brendan's arrival. As soon as he pulls up, Juliana gets the little girl from her car seat, and the three of them enter the home from the back basement entrance. Brendan, who carries a service pew for his job as a criminal investigator, tells Juliana to stay in the basement with his daughter while he goes to check the rest of the house. If by this point you think you know what happens next, you'd probably be right, but also horribly wrong. After Brendan clears the first floor, he heads to the second floor. And what he finds in his bedroom is a literal nightmare. A strange man in bed, biblically, with his wife, a sharp instrument at her throat. According to Juliana, Brendan yelled, "Drop the sharp," which caused Juliana to panic, and she raced upstairs to help Brendan, who was already brandishing his service pew and aiming at the stranger. Juliana watched as Brendan met his mark above the man's right eyebrow. Then Brendan makes an interesting choice and instructs Juliana to go retrieve his personal pew from the safe in the closet of the same bedroom, which she does, despite Brendan having already injured him and the man already being down and no longer attacking Christine. Upon retrieving the pew, Juliana notices the man is breathing, so she then fires to remove his final breath. During these fatal efforts, Christine is not moving, not making any sound. 911 calls were made, 2 in fact. One at 7:45 a.m., which was disconnected by the caller without any words spoken, and then another at 8 a.m., when Brendan Banfield told the dispatcher he had just neutralized an intruder who had attacked his wife. The foregoing narrative is the story as told to Fairfax County Police by Juliana moments after they were dispatched to the home, all captured on police body cam. First responders arrive minutes later to find 39-year-old Joseph Ryan had departed this timeline and Christine Banfield clinging to a sliver of life. They rush her to the hospital. Sadly, Christine succumbed to her numerous injuries and never regained consciousness. In the body cam footage, Juliana is noticeably wrecked. She's shaking, hyperventilating, and in a panic. It is notable to state here that English is not Juliana's first language, so that only adds to the confusion. As Juliana is trying to collect herself, because she has slumped to the ground at this point, the officer outright asks her if she and Brendan Banfield are having an extramarital affair. Juliana answers, absolutely not. Police search for signs of forced entry, broken doors, shattered windows, anything that would suggest why or how a stranger had entered the home, looking for any reason why this seemingly random man would invade this quiet suburban home and commit such a heinous crime. According to prosecutors, they didn't find it, because what investigators would uncover next would completely flip the case on its head. Why him? Why would a man named Joseph Ryan from Woodbridge, Virginia, end up lifeless inside a suburban Fairfax County home? Joseph wasn't a drifter. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't someone who lived a chaotic or secretive life. By every account investigators could find, Joseph was kind, family-oriented. He volunteered at animal shelters, playing exclusively with the dogs no one else paid attention to. He participated in live-action role-playing. He rescued small animals. He showed up for people. So how did someone like Joseph Ryan become the second victim in what would quickly reveal itself as a deeply calculated crime. To answer that, investigators had to start from the beginning. On February 24th, Fairfax County police were called to the Banfield residence. Inside, they found a scene that immediately raised red flags. 2 people were dead. Christine Banfield, one of the homeowners, and Joseph Ryan, a man no one in the household truly claimed to know. According to Brendan and Juliana, the explanation was simple. They said a stranger had broken into the home and attacked Christine while she slept. They claimed they acted in defense, that chaos unfolded quickly, that they did what they had to do to try to save Christine. But detectives know this truth well. Real chaos leaves patterns. Staged chaos leaves contradictions. And the Banfield home was full of them. The bodies weren't where investigators would expect them to be. Blood spatter didn't align with the story that was being told. Items appeared moved, and the timelines felt very convenient. Nothing about this scene felt organic. So police did what they're trained to do in cases like this. They started collecting everything. Phones, laptops, tablets, external drives, anything capable of telling a story when people wouldn't. And that story began quietly on Christine Banfield's laptop. A forensic review of Christine's laptop revealed something investigators were not expecting. Months before her death, Christine had created an account on an adult alternative website, one specifically geared towards fetishism and roleplay. This wasn't a dating app in the traditional sense. It catered to people interested in consensual fantasies, often extreme in nature. It was there that Christine met Joseph Ryan. Their messages showed no hesitation, no small talk. Christine jumped directly into detailed discussions about roleplay, particularly violent roleplay. Christine expressed interest in scenarios involving sharp objects, simulated danger, and the loss of control. Joseph, for his part, didn't hide who he was. He was open about his interests: dominance and submission, ropes, restraints, roleplay. And these weren't secrets in his life. His friends knew. The people close to him knew. In fact, Joseph had spoken openly about Christine. He told friends he was excited that he'd met someone who truly shared his interests, that this felt different. He also knew she was married, but Christine had reassured him. She told Joseph that she'd been having affairs for years, that her marriage was effectively over, just legally unresolved. On that basis, Joseph felt comfortable moving forward. Still, he was careful. He insisted on a phone call between he and Christine. Given the violent nature of what Christine was requesting, he wanted her voice, her verbal consent, a clear, unmistakable confirmation that everything they discussed was consensual and desired, and that call happened. Joseph spoke to a woman who identified herself as Christine. She confirmed consent. She confirmed the fantasies. She confirmed she wanted them carried out. With that, a date was set. Christine chose the morning, February 24th, 2023. She told Joseph to arrive around 7:15 a.m. when her family would not be there. She instructed him to let himself in, that the door would be unlocked. He was to come inside, find her in the master bedroom, and proceed exactly as planned. Joseph agreed. From his perspective, this was a consensual encounter between two adults. From the outside, it would soon become something far darker. When investigators uncovered this digital trail, they were troubled, but also confused, because the Christine described in these messages didn't match the Christine described by her friends, co-workers, and family. No one recognized this side of her. No one said she would be the type to live a double life. And yet, the digital evidence didn't lie. The account was created on Christine's laptop. The messages came from Christine's laptop. No other device logged into the account. No outside interference. So detectives kept digging. And that is when the focus shifted away from Joseph and directly onto the people still alive. Forensic analysis of Brendan and Juliana's phones and laptops revealed another truth. They weren't just in an employer-employee relationship. They weren't just close. They were having an intimate affair. The relationship began roughly 8 months after Juliana started working for the Banfield family in August of 2022, and it escalated quickly. Shortly after the affair began, Brendan took Juliana to a shooting range in Ashburn, Virginia. Not long after that, he purchased a firearm. That same firearm would later be used to unalive Joseph Ryan. It was stored in the master bedroom safe. Then investigators noticed something else, something subtle but deeply unsettling. The profile photo that Christine used online wasn't explicit. It showed her in a one-piece bathing suit while on vacation. That photo had been sent from Christine's laptop to Brendan's email and then forwarded to Juliana's email, where Juliana saved it and then sent it to herself again. This wasn't accidental. This was preparation. And suddenly, the crime scene began to make sense. Blood spatter analysts struggled with what they saw. The patterns didn't align with Brendan and Juliana's version of events. The victims weren't where they should have been. The scene looked manipulated, posed. This wasn't a spontaneous act of self-defense. This was orchestration. Investigators felt confident they had enough to make an arrest, but they faced a dilemma. Juliana had admitted to firing the weapon that killed Joseph after he was no longer an active threat, and frankly, was an easier target for police to lean on. So police moved on the certainty. Juliana was arrested. At first, she stuck to the story. She claimed that she and Brendan were innocent, that they acted to protect Christine from a violent intruder. But that story collapsed quickly. A grand jury handed down murder charges. Faced with the reality of life in prison, Juliana made a choice. She accepted a plea deal for manslaughter. In exchange, she told the truth. Juliana told investigators everything. She confirmed the affair. She explained that in October of 2022, months before the murders, she and Brendan took a trip to New York together. It was there that Brendan told her that he wanted his wife, quote, out of the way. He felt that Christine wasn't a good mother, that she wasn't there enough, that Juliana was more of a mother to his daughter than Christine. And yet, divorce was not an option. Juliana initially thought that he was exaggerating, being dramatic. But after they returned home, Brendan came to her with a plan. That they would catfish a man, create a fake profile, lure him to the house, make it look random, make it look brutal. And Brendan believed they were committing the perfect crime. No divorce, no nasty custody battle, no consequences. A completely fresh start. What he didn't anticipate was that Juliana wouldn't be willing to go to prison for him. An arrest warrant was issued for Brendan Banfield. He now stands trial for the murder of his wife, Christine Banfield, and for the death of Joseph Ryan, an innocent man who believed he was entering a consensual encounter, not walking into a trap. A man who never had a chance to leave that house alive. Next week, we'll take you inside the courtroom. We'll break down Juliana's testimony, the prosecution's case, the defense's strategy, and examine what Brendan Banfield could possibly say to explain his way out of this. We'll follow this trial as closely to real time as possible, and you are welcome to come along. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you feel relaxed, intrigued, and that this story stays with you. This has been your True Crime Wind Down. So now I will take questions. We can have a little chit chat about it. There are so many questions. I have so many questions about this case. I have not looked ahead at what's happening in the trial. I picked this case because it's actually really close to me geographically. It's in my backyard basically. And where the people are from and where the IRS is and where the National Zoo is. Thank you guys so much. I'm just familiar with all of these things. And I do have to say, one of the questions, thank you, Lilith. One of the questions that I had was, why on earth she was taking her to the zoo so early. I believe that their little girl, who I don't really like naming minor children in these cases, especially if they aren't the victim. So yeah, so I didn't give her name. You can find her name online if you want to, but it didn't seem relevant to the story, honestly. And so why this little girl's life was ruined already? Why put it on the internet? Why put her name on the internet for everybody else? My daughter's over here like, you did so good. I don't know why they brought her inside. I have the same exact question. I mean, so part of me thinks they didn't want to leave her locked in the car because she'd panic, she'd freak out. Maybe they thought that she would feel more comfortable hidden in the basement, but still, that's such an enormous risk. My question is, why didn't they call the police before they went in the house? Duh. That was my initial question, was why didn't you see a man walking in the house? Christine didn't open the front door for him. You see a man walking in the front door of the house. You don't know him. This woman was their au pair, had been for a year and a half. She knew their family. She knew their friends. She knew the people that they hung out with. And this guy wasn't any of those people. So, why wouldn't, if she doesn't answer and you call Brendan and he's on his way back, especially Brendan he's not a law enforcement officer, but he's close, he had a service weapon. Wouldn't his natural instinct be to call law enforcement for backup? Because obviously something bad is happening. So I don't like that. I don't think that that's a natural response, what they did. I will say that one of the charges against Brendan Banfield, I believe, is child endangerment because of bringing her in the house. So I'm pretty sure he's I hope, will be serving some justice for that as well. What do you guys think of the case? Thank you all so much for your gifts, for the likes, for the reposts, for the shares. Supporting the stream helps me create this world for you, for me. Hi, Unchained. So if you're in here and you're trying to wind down and go to bed, can listen to the nice rain sounds with the candles and the lamp. And just unwind and let it go. This is a great time to reconnect with your breath. Reconnect with the present. Feel your clothes on your skin. If you're lying down in bed, feel your pillow against your face. Reconnect with the here and now. Everything is okay. You are okay. If your eyes are feeling drowsy, let them softly close. If your head is feeling heavy, let it sink down. Before we leave and say goodnight, remember to be kind to yourself and treat other people the way you would like to be treated. I wish you the sweetest dreams and the brightest tomorrow. Good night.